The drama of the Champions League phase has come to an end finally. 64 goals after this 18 game day. Like, this was just absolute insanity. But this is what you want to see. If you guys bet, I hope you guys got some money back because I definitely lost 50 bucks. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to talk about the biggest shocks, the biggest disappointments, who's in top eight, who's going to be in the playoff bracket, and who never even made it in. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys subscribe, follow, check out all the platform links down below. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Charla Football. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo, and we're going to wrap up everything with the Champions League. The league phase is finally over. We're going to head into the playoff fixtures. I think the draw is on Friday, so we'll find out who's going to face who to get into the round of 16. But let's go first to the top eight, where pretty much not too much moved. The biggest surprises are the bottom two, but we'll start from top to bottom. Liverpool have been on top of the Champions League since the beginning of this league phase format, and they've been the most consistent. Even though I think they did lose against Feyenoord away, it was given. They played against the Feyenoord team that went all out, and Liverpool, Arne Slot did not take any of their star players. Pretty much the only starters you can say are maybe Robertson, Gakpo. Other than that, I mean, it was pretty much a lot of young players, a young Liverpool squad. But Liverpool on top. Barcelona drew 2-2 with Atalanta in another game where it was just back and forth madness. I'm pretty sure not what Barca wanted. If they had gotten the win, they would have been on top, especially given that Liverpool result. But I mean, it is what it is. If you're Barca, you're not mad. You're automatically qualifying to the round of 16, and you faced off a really good Atalanta team who are also pushing to try to get that top eight. So it's not like Atalanta we're going to take this game lightly either. Then we go to Arsenal, Inter, Atleti, Bayer Leverkusen, who also was a big shock. Actually, I wouldn't say they're a big shock because I understand that last year they were probably one of the best teams in Europe. One of the things that I said was that we have to see how they put up and how they perform when it comes to the Champions League, because in Europa League they were impeccable, going to all the way to the final, losing 3-0 to Atalanta. But here in the Champions League, in this Champions League so far, they've been pretty impressive as well. They were able to make it top eight. I think the two biggest shocks for me. Let me know what you guys think. Who are your biggest shock in this top eight? But for me, definitely Lille and Aston Villa. Villa, who didn't even start off that well in the Champions League campaign, but ended well, and they just snuck in, getting past Atalanta. Atalanta, since they weren't able to get a win against Barcelona, they were not able to push themselves top eight. But Villa definitely snuck in there. I think they will 4-2 win with the Morgan Rogers hat trick, his first goal and hat trick in the Champions League for Aston Villa. And as for Lille, they smashed Feyenoord 6-1. It was just the Lille show, and I think it was expected. I mean, a team like Lille, who has beaten Atletico, they have beaten Madrid, tied with Juventus. Now, at home, of course, they have to get a result and win if they wanted to get into top eight against Feyenoord, and they did that exactly, winning 6-1. There's no better way to get into, and you see the reactions from the fans, from the players when they found out they made it to top eight. That is the beauty of football. That's the beauty of Champions League football. Another shock surprise to see in the top eight, honestly, is Arsenal, given that they're like the slippity slope of a team where they'll have a consistent run of games where they're one of the best teams in the world, and then they have a couple slip-ups. But in the Champions League, they're third place, and do they deserve it? I don't know, but they got the wins that they needed to. They were down most of the match against Girona until eventually they flipped the switch. They got the 2-1 win. Raheem Sterling could have made it 3-1, but just cannot find his feet inside of that team. Missed the penalty. Other than that, yeah, those are the biggest surprises for me. Let me know who you think which club is the biggest surprise in this top eight. Now let's look at the disappointments. The disappointments to not make top eight are definitely, first off, you cannot. How can you not say that Madrid not being in the top eight is not a disappointment? Madrid, who are the reigning champions, Madrid, who are the best team in Europe, to not even be near top eight. I think they were sitting in like 11th or 12th right now, is extremely poor for Real Madrid. Yeah, sitting in 11th place, it's extremely poor for Real Madrid. You expect them to be always at the top in every competition that they play in, and that wasn't the case for this team. But they got the job done against Brest away from home, and it was pretty much cruise control for them. A 3-0 victory with Rodrigo getting a brace. looking impeccable on the left hand side. Mbappe couldn't score, and I was really pissed about that because I was hoping that he would score because I put money on him. But whatever, it's fine. Now another team, of course, maybe another few teams that I think are the biggest disappointments to not be automatically qualifying to top eight, but to be in this playoff fixture is definitely Manchester City, Bayern, and PSG as well. But I think out of those three is Manchester City. I think the biggest disappointment, the way they qualify into the playoff fixture. To let alone not make it top eight, but also on the brink of elimination. For most of the first half, they were out of the Champions League because they were down 1-0 against Brugge at the Etihad. But 3 goals in the second half sees them climb their way, barely sneaking into the next round in 22nd place. You're telling me that Manchester City is the 22nd best team in Europe after all the money that they splashed, after the two signings that they've already spent money on in this winter and probably a third one. Like, to be the 22nd best team in Europe, it doesn't sound right to me for Manchester City. But they made it through. And for Bayern, PSG, they're kind of iffy. I think they should have been up there as well. But we know that they haven't been that consistent that's this season in the Champions League. Their leagues is a different story. But when it comes to the Champions League, to European nights, this is where teams like these have to step up, and they haven't. They've been the disappointments. Let me know if there's any other disappointments that you feel like should be thrown in there, or you guys agree or disagree with me on. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. Now, out of all the people, or out of all the clubs that were eliminated, I wouldn't say too many are shocks. Because a lot of these teams is their first time in Europe. I'm looking at Girona, I'm looking at Bologna. It's their first time playing Champions League football. Didn't really expect them to make it far, but also to not be so poor. And I think that's really the shock on my end for these eliminated teams. For me, the biggest shock is RB Leipzig, who last year were in the round of 16. They played against Real Madrid in the round of 16. I remember that match vividly because Leipzig were absolutely dominant against a Real Madrid team last season. But this season, to not even be able to get the win, or maybe you only get one win, I don't remember exactly what happened, but only 3 points on the board. They were, I don't even know how many points. I don't even know what place they were in the Champions League qualification, but they were like third or fourth to last. And that is extremely poor from a team like Leipzig, who, are always very competitive, especially against big teams. And in the Champions League, to be in the round of 16 last season, to not even be in the playoffs this season it's really shocking from Marco Rose's team. And also not having anything to play for in a game against Sturm Graz, to still lose, not even be able to get a result away from home. Just everything is going wrong for Leipzig. Everything went wrong for them in the Champions League. For me, that's probably the biggest shock elimination out of all the teams that were eliminated. Other than that, I guess everyone could say it was bound to happen. And of course, we had a lot of beautiful surprises in the round, not in the round 16. We have a lot of beautiful surprises in the playoff fixtures. I'm looking at teams like Celtic, teams like Brugge, who at first maybe didn't even expect them to be there. Probably even expected them to be eliminated automatically, but that wasn't the case. They fought through and they made things difficult for every single team that they faced, especially in this last in match week 8, where Aston Villa faced Celtic. Celtic were even able to almost get a result. They had drawn the game 2-2, and then eventually Aston Villa's quality showed. Same thing with Brugge. Brugge being up most of the match, and then Manchester City's quality showed as well. There are definitely two clubs who were surprising. I think the most surprising out of those teams that are in this playoff fixture are definitely Stade Brest, who have been probably the underdog of the season. We'll see what happens to them in the playoff fixture, if they could even sneak into round of 16. But they've been a joy to watch. There's no doubt about that. They started off the Champions League campaign very well. The past couple games started to die down, that magic. But maybe after a little bit of a break and moving into this playoff fixture, they can get their shit together, because they've been a joy to watch. They've definitely been a magical team to learn about too. From being in the National League, then going to Ligue 2, I don't know how you pronounce it in French, but being in League 2, then eventually just a couple seasons back, 4 or 5 seasons back, in League 1, fighting relegation, and finally making it to Champions League football for the first time in their history, and now to be into almost into the round of 16, just one step away from the round of 16. We're watching history in the making. Now, lastly, I'm going to wrap up with the bracket, how things are going to look like in this playoff fixture. The draws are as follows. So we have Atalanta and Borussia Dortmund, who will possibly be facing off against either Sporting or Club Brugge. Real Madrid and Bayern Munich will either face Celtic or Manchester City. Milan and PSV will either face Feyenoord and Juventus. PSG and Benfica might either face AS Monaco or Stade Brest. That was an interesting group because there's a bunch of French teams that PSG will be playing against another French team, so quite interesting that. But that is how the playoff fixture looks like now, or how the draws look like. So I guess we'll see what happens on Friday when the draw comes to a close. Um, we'll definitely keep in touch, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Let me know, please, in the comment section below all the surprises, disappointments, if you guys agree or disagree with any of my takes. For more Champions League football, make sure you guys subscribe, like, follow, check out all the platform links down below. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.